There have been a lot of highs and lows in the US-Pakistan relationship. Pakistan's current goal of preserving good relations with all major world powers is based mainly on its Cold War experience, in which joining the US camp caused it to become estranged from the USSR. The cooperation was also not perceived as providing Pakistan with the amount of Western assistance it wanted for its nuclear development and battles with India. Pakistan has also raised frustrations over being left alone with the fallout of the Soviet-Afghan War after the country's full support to the US in its proxy war in Afghanistan, and for not getting enough credit for its contribution to the war on terror. The US-Pakistan relationship has been fraught with mutual frustration, at highs and lows. Still, for Pakistan, the experience ultimately represents the mistake of putting all eggs in the Western basket. The country now wishes to tread more cautiously to ensure a more balanced foreign policy. The war in Ukraine and the potential impact on Pakistan's trade. Russia launched a full-scale military invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, sending a clear message to the world about Russia's opposition to further NATO expansion toward Russia and against Ukraine's intentions of joining NATO in the future. The war is taking a devastating human toll and will likely have lasting effects on global trade, particularly the energy markets. This will not bode well for Pakistan, which is already suffering from high inflation, low economic growth, and political instability. Historically, Pakistan has maintained bilateral economic ties with Russia and Ukraine. Islamabad sided with Washington during the Cold War and played an instrumental role in arming and training US-funded Afghan resistance in the 1980s to the decade-long Soviet occupation of neighboring Afghanistan. Currently, in the last 24 years, Pakistan's exports to Russia have increased at an annualized rate of 13.6% from $13.1 million in 1996 to $279 million in 2020, while Russia's exports to Pakistan have increased at an annualized rate of 10.2% from $67 in 1996 to $699 million in 2020. On the other hand, in the last 24 years, Pakistan's exports to Ukraine increased at an annualized rate of 15.5% from $18 in 1996 to $573 million in 2020, while Ukraine's exports to Pakistan have increased at an annualized rate of 14.8% from $98 to $82 million in 2020. In 2021, Pakistan's trade value with Russia was $711 million, including $537 million in Russian imports. With Ukraine, the trade value reached $800 million, including $739 million in imports. To date, Pakistan enjoys friendly, albeit modest, trade relations with Ukraine, a significant component of which is the agriculture sector, particularly wheat. In recent years, Pakistan and Russia have agreed to promote bilateral cooperation in all sectors, including trade, defense, economy, and energy. However, the conflict can disrupt Pakistan's new strategic geopolitical pivot. The United States, the European Union, and other countries have introduced or expanded sanctions on members of the Russian regime. More specifically, the United States has banned the imports of Russian oil and natural gas, while the United Kingdom will phase out Russian oil by the end of this year. Moreover, the European Union, which gets 25% of its oil and 45% of its gas from Russia, intends to switch to alternative energy supplies, making it independent from Russian energy within this decade. Germany has halted the opening of the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia. Russia has responded to sanctions by banning exports of various products, and it has also warned that it could shut off gas supplies in response to the oil sanctions. This disruption of energy supplies from the world's largest supplier, Russia, is resulting in a hike in energy prices worldwide. This is a significant setback for an oil importing country like Pakistan because oil accounts for a sizable share of its imports. This has the potential to deplete our national reserves, thereby shrinking the country's purchasing power even more. The conflict will directly impact Pakistan's wheat imports from Ukraine, which accounted for 39% of the total imported wheat in the preceding fiscal year. The potential snowball effect of this conflict is massive, with a surge in electricity rates, raising of interest rates by central banks, increased demand to meet increased living costs, increase of prices by businesses to compensate for higher wages, and workforce cuts leading to unemployment. No-camp politics approach. The South Asian nuclear-armed Muslim country has resisted Western pressure to condemn Moscow for its invasion of Ukraine, instead advocating dialogue and diplomacy to end the crisis. Pakistan has argued that it needs to step back from global bloc politics to improve ties with all countries, including Russia, and to tackle its domestic economic challenges, even though Pakistan's decision to maintain the Prime Minister's visit was sound, given that for years Pakistan had been trying to inject trust and facility into our relations with Moscow. Khan has defended his trip to Moscow, the first by a Pakistani Prime Minister in 23 years, saying his country's economic interests required him to do so. "We do not want to be part of any camp. We have paid the price for being in camps. That is why we are very carefully treading. We don't want to compromise our neutrality, and that's why we abstained," Qureshi told VOA. Similarly, "Our decision to abstain was a logical choice following the Chinese and the Indian vote in the Security Council. Pakistan, a key non-NATO ally of Washington, abstained from voting. So did 34 other nations, including India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. Pakistan has been relatively pragmatic in its decisions when a situation involves significant powers. In January 1980, as a led country to negotiate a resolution in the Security Council on the Soviet military intervention in Afghanistan, we successfully resisted naming the Soviet Union. We asked for the withdrawal of foreign troops. Our official criticism of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 or the American interventions in Syria and Libya was circumspect." Shah Mahmood.